Hello, I want to talk to you about AMPED, and it's not an easy thing to do, bear with me. The reason being that it's such a big thing in terms of its actual size, of the project itself, and of the scope and the power of it and what it can actually do for you, that it's very hard to know where to start. What I've actually done is made 4 videos that explain the 4 main strands of what it is in more depth, which should enable me to give a bit of an overview here. There is, it's unlike anything else from anyone else, anywhere else, including from me. I mean, the components of AMPED are things that I've been developing. I'm in my 60s now. I've been developing all of these strands of my work, my skill set, for decades. I mean, since I was a kid. I'm talking about pre-teen. And I've worked with well over 1 million individuals, one-on-one sessions in my career so far. And so I have a bit of a handle on what drives people, what repels people, what attracts people to certain ways of being, situations, ways of seeing, and so on. And I've been working with affirmations since I was a kid, learning Aikido, because the martial arts, they use the affirmation technique to focus the mind. So it's like you've got a movement, when you practice every day, for example, that movement would be power. And as you do the movement, you think the word, and that reinforces the intention to become more powerful from doing the practice. Living with the Native Americans in the late 70s, early 80s, studying shamanism, learning how to deliver ideas, using the voice as a tool. And it's all about cadence and the repetition of certain frequencies and sounds and patterns in the voice, because you're kind of singing a song in a way, and every time you return to a familiar point of repair, the person that you're doing it with recognises that. So there's quite a sophisticated way of using the voice to induce a relaxed state, a more open-minded state, a greater sense of well-being, and so on and so forth. Then there's I'll explain what it is in a minute, but then there's the sound frequency content, which is, again, it's something I've been working with for, 40 years, examining, investigating how various frequencies affect my body and those the bodies of the people around me in my trusted beta testing group. And I've developed it to a fairly refined standard now. I can't ever say I know what I'm doing, because nobody does. You're always you're experimenting, you're exploring. But there's certain areas that I'm pretty confident in now. And I was amazingly bequeathed by the late, great Ken Owens, who was a master sound engineer of the old school, the kind of guys that knew how to really use a microphone, and they recorded things, they generated signals and strange old machines and recorded them perfectly, and on big tape machines and all the rest of it. I was bequeathed the 300 hertz frequency by him, and that is the one that there have been scientific studies done that it benignly alters the chemistry of the forebrain, which is significant. I'll tell you why in a second, as well as has the potential for mending tissue, so it's quite profound. And then there is the subliminal aspect. Well, I learned about subliminals years and years and years ago. It's a bizarre technique, because you're almost really removing all the sound wave out of the sound, all the sound out of the sound wave, and you're left with a kind of skeleton of the shape of the word, which runs under the surface. And the way I do it is I use them as sort of bounce them from side to side, and I've got the sort of like master themes running through. I'll explain what I mean in a second. And you'll say maybe you have 4 running at the same time, 4 sentences running next to each other, but where there's a gap in one, the word of the other fits in, and so on. And then if you really get them bouncing, it creates a very subtle but interesting underswell of sound, and it really has an effect. It definitely has an effect. And then there's the music, and I'll explain what all this is about in a second. The music is well, if I say so myself, it's pretty amazing. It's all within the kind of so-called house genre, meaning that it's a kick drum going 4 to the floor. But there's 1,000 different ways that that can be used. And because I've got a fairly big musical vocabulary, having grown up in a musical family and been playing instruments since I was 2, with a fair kind of facility now for the electronic equipment, to be able to create pretty much whatever I want to create. The references I'm able to give nods to are quite eclectic, so I go all the way from big band, Count Basie, all the way through to Skrillex, and I don't mean copying them, I mean that, I'm just referencing them as styles, say like country, kind of Tex-Mex country music, through to Balkan beat, through to Brahms, through to Mahler, through to the Beatles, through to whoever. I mean, it is just such a broad range without being pastiche or distracting. And the tone of it all is really deep and lush. Now the significance, amped, what is it? Well, it's a way of amping up your manifesting power. And I know that manifesting is of appeal to everybody. Everybody wants to manifest better. They want better conditions, better circumstances. And yeah, why not? Everybody wants to grow more and more into themselves. Everybody wants to feel more comfortable in their own skin. Everybody wants to be able to communicate with others more clearly and more comfortably. Everybody wants to have more fun. Everybody wants to have more wealth. Everybody wants to have more health. Everybody wants to have more love. This is natural, it's just nature. And we are manifesting things all the time. The way your life is now, or the way you perceive it to be, is a result of your manifesting skill. However, unless you actively, cognitively intervene in the process, it's your unconscious mind doing the manifesting. It's the unresolved aspects of what Freud called your id, the conflicted parts of you that will be manifesting, hence why you get a kind of conflicting display of reality a lot of the time. As soon as you start intervening, and especially when you do it in this Taoist way, this Wu Wei style, which means graciously, effortlessly manifesting what you need, what you feel is appropriate for you in that moment, without any effort, just by having the intention and being able to focus your energy to sort of sail that intention out into the cosmos, and it just does it for you. When you deploy this kind of method, everything starts to roll with a lot more smoothness, and your relationship with yourself changes profoundly, and because of that, the outside reflects that, and your relationship with everyone around you and the world in general, if there is such a thing, that also becomes much more harmonious and easy to manage, much more fun, more enjoyable, more rewarding. Now, the way it works is that we tell ourselves stories about life. We create a description of reality because we have to, because we can't just look at everything on the subatomic level and carry on doing things in the day-to-day, for example. So we have to create a description out of the infinite amount of data that's coming to our senses in any given moment. And with the aid of our forebears, we create this story, or our version of the story, and this story goes on in the forebrain, and we keep it in place, we maintain it by discussing it with ourselves. We have an internal narrative in the forebrain, which not only holds the story in place, but it also involves evaluating our position in the story and surmising or prognosticating on whether we're going to succeed or fail, which is always the underlying, the big question. And we are so good at storytelling that we don't realise it's a story, and we react to it emotionally by tensing in the belly, the chest, the face, all over, inhibiting the natural functions of our body and depleting our health, and diminishing our enjoyment and effectiveness in the everyday. So doing the opposite of what we really want to be doing. The way of the Taoist sage, which is what AMPED actually does in a discrete level, it actually trains you in the mindset of the Taoist sage, is to step behind the story to come out of the realm of story altogether, which is done as a psychophysical maneuver, because all the story goes on in the front of you, the reaction to it and all that, because your sense organs are there, so you're referencing to what's in front and it pulls you forwards, and then you're in the story. But you come back behind that and sit in your back with your mind in the back of your head. You're not in the story anymore. Then you have pure consciousness, and from here, taking command of the arena of experience occurring in front of you, you can then inject your intention of how you want it to go, the mode you want it to go in, the way you want to feel, the way you want others to feel around you. And it will produce that result for you. And it won't look necessarily like you thought it was going to look, but then you don't really bother thinking how things are going to look. You just get flashes of inspiration maybe, but you stay present-centered, because when you sit in your back, you realise there's nothing to strive for. It doesn't get any better than this. It might get different, it might get more, it might get less, but it doesn't get better, because the intrinsic value is being here. This is the gift. You're alive. Wow, this is it. Everything else is a bonus. And that's why this manifesting game is fun, because you're just playing around with your bonuses, essentially, like a dog with his bonuses. And why this is so powerful is because it takes a lot of diligence and application to get good at manifesting, to be good at using affirmations, which are a brilliant tool for manifesting, learning how to phrase them, learning how often to repeat them, learning to remember to repeat them, learning to remember not to try and believe them, because that just gets in the way, merely to repeat them, and then learning to let go, and then learning to be mindful enough to look back and go, wow, that actually worked. I've forgotten all about it, and that actually worked, because they do. It's hard. It takes discipline and time, and that's something that most people in this ever increasingly busy world are less willing to do, more and more, less willing to do. And that's why I'm driven always to create things that will help everybody get it, so that everyone can be happy. I want everyone to feel this beautiful, because then it'll be a much more wonderful world, and yeah, that's my contribution. So I say 60 years, a bit more, to get to this point of a level of expertise enough that I can produce what I feel is commensurate with the gravitas of the subject, and do it justice. But also thousands of hours spent on this project, and meticulously crafting every aspect of it. This amazing synergy that you get when you get the really good music with the tones, the frequencies running through, with the subliminals, and then with my voice, the sort of lyrical delivery that's put over the top. And it comes in 6 episodes, ranging from 34 minutes to 55 minutes each. You get one a week, and you listen to it every single day. That's all you have to do. You just listen to it at least once. You probably want to listen to it more, because you might enjoy it, I think. You can do it while you're walking to work and you're here with earbuds. You can do it while you're cleaning up the house. You can do it while you're lying in bed about to go to sleep. You can even do it while you're asleep. It will still have the effect. So you don't have to stop to do it. You can carry on doing other things. You can watch it as a visualizer, because it's really nice visualizers to go with each episode. And there's a book, or sort of an online book, an e-book that you can read to give you all the affirmations, in case you didn't hear them clearly, that explains what all the subliminals are, that explains the whole background, and expands on what's going on in the episodes as it goes along. And by the end of 6 weeks, you are transformed. And this is not just some idle promise. You are genuinely, deeply, through and through transformed. Your relationship, that's what I was going to say. The way it works is you're changing the story by supplementing your usual internal narrative with this one, which I'm doing for you. And each episode is aimed at a certain area of life. So the first one is you're changing your story about people, other people. It's important, because we live with other people, and how you deal with them, how they deal with you, the levels of cooperation, the levels of enjoyment you have around others and them around you, all of that, popularity, all of that. Then the second theme, the second episode, is themed at changing your story about the world of things, the world of tasks and responsibilities and procedures and to-do lists and all the stuff you've got to do to keep the show on the road. and your ability to do it all. You know, how fixed you are to, you know, how, you know, capable you are of driving through and get everything done, and so on and so forth. The third episode addresses changing the story about yourself. So your levels of self-esteem, your worth, who you are, what you're capable of. The fourth episode addresses changing the story about money, because money is, everybody wants more money, everybody's got some kind of thing going on with money, and you learn to change the story. And the reason you change the story, because when you change the story, it actually changes the way the externals work in your respect. That's the magical part of it. That's the quantum physics part, if you want to put it in those terms. The fifth episode addresses your story about changing your story about love, and that's love in all its forms, and ultimately the love of the Tao, the love of existence, the love of being here, and the feeling that you love existence and existence loves you. It's a very powerful theme. And then the sixth episode, the grand finale episode, which is, well, they're all remarkable, that is truly quite something, if I say so myself, is changing the story about life and death and the eternal. So your relationship with your own mortality, and becoming really comfortable in the truth of that, rather than being in denial or avoiding it, which just wastes energy and distracts you from your true power. So by the end of it all, your relationship with almost, well, I think every aspect of your existence has profoundly shifted. And as a result of that, existence profoundly shifts in the way that it treats you. And you have to do nothing but press play once a day. It's like one button. Press play once a day. One button, and it changes your life. And that is no cheeky, idle, sales gimmicky, nonsensical promise. This is the truth. I have reviews done by my trusted beta testing team, you know, along certain formats, asking them what they were going through before, at the time when they started, how they felt about halfway through, how they felt at the end, and what they think about it, would they recommend it. And I'm not alone in this. It's good, it's powerful. AMPED is really quite amazing, if I say so myself. No, really, I don't know what else to say about it. I've taken up a lot of your time, and I thank you deeply for watching. Let me leave you with a little gift. You bring your mind into the back of your head by pushing your head back, so you feel the back of your neck, and let your mind rest up there. Push back into your kidneys inside and feel the empty space now in the forehead. It's very special. Relax the belly a little bit, and then just come up with an intention. Like, for example, my intention for the rest of this day is to feel joyful about absolutely everything in a surprising way for me, and as a result for lovely surprises to happen. And then just say, I now feel joyful about absolutely everything that happens in the most surprising way, and beautiful surprises happen as a result. Just say it a couple of times and then forget about it and see what happens. Watch out for the other videos, because they'll explain it in much more depth, all the different strands. Thank you for putting up with my meandering mind, but like I said, there's so much to talk about, and I'm just so happy and enthusiastic about it. Bless you. Goodbye.